Hello, everyone. Beautiful soul family. Welcome back. ASHALA here, bringing you the Psychic Tarot Show, streaming live on Beyond Mystic YouTube, Rumble, and X channels every Saturday. Lovely to see you here. How's it where you are? It is another cold, rainy, stormy day in the Pacific Northwest. Hi, Fred. Hi, Angela, Cassandra, Chrissia. Greetings from Holland, Yorkshire, UK. Hi, Lupo. Hello, beautiful Beyond Mystic friends and family. And I saw this lovely message from you, Sherry, or Cheryl, talking about your grandmother who read the cards, playing cards when you were a kid, and you tried to mimic her and you miss her. That's such a beautiful story. You know, this time of year is a time when our ancestors are very close to us. I heard once that it's the most feminine time of the year. And it is one of those times where the veils are very thin. And so we have this opportunity at this time to connect with our ancestors, our departed loved ones, in a very meaningful way that isn't open to us to the same degree at the rest of the year. So let's just tune in. This is part of what All Hallows Eve and Samhain and Halloween and All Souls Night and everything, it's part of what that's about. Let's tune in and see what kind of messages are coming from the guides, our collective guides, the ancestors, the universe, coming through this beautiful power neutral portal of the heart, aligned with the greater good of all. Just going to shuffle and clear the cards a little bit as we begin. And as always, these messages are about not necessarily warning us, but giving us a bit of a weather forecast, the potentiality of different things that may be coming into our collective experience in this upcoming week. And what's helpful about that? Well, often, I don't know about you, but I find that throughout the week, something may happen, and I remember that there was a hint of that in the overview, in the forecast for the week. And just remembering that allows me to pay more attention to what might otherwise be just brushed off as inconsequential. So it just gives me a little bit of a ability to focus in on some certain things, certain priorities during the week. And if they are things that don't happen very often, I'm like, wow, this is a real chance to make the best of this opportunity. And just take a moment here to share with you the cards. So here you are on the Psychic Tarot Weekly Show with ASHALA. You can also find me, you can book a session with me over on the Beyond Mystic Consultations page. You can book a 1-hour session. I have openings in the next couple of weeks. And, you know, we were just talking about the ancestors, and Janine and I have completed our most recent workshop on past lives. And we're bringing our years of experience working with past lives and ancestors and having these conversations. I'm just hearing someone at my door, so I wonder if it's the ancestors knocking. Yeah, so here's this workshop where we actually talked about the relationship between our ancestors and our past lives. Usually people think your past life is something that happened a long time ago and it has nothing to do with your genetics or your ancestral lineage. And over years of doing readings for people and tuning in with their lineage, with their past lives, I often see an overlap. And Janine and I go into great depth exploring this and bringing forward the perspectives that we've both discovered being professional readers, working with clients over the last 20 to 30 years. And it's pretty fascinating. We actually discovered that we had a lot more commonality in how we approach this phenomena of past lives and ancestors, and that we were really on the same page. So let's see if the ancestors show up in our reading today. Bring the cards into the main screen here. There we go. So we'll start in the house of Aries, where we begin the week. And the first card out of the gate, it literally is a card that is like kind of the horse ready to charge out of the gate. Look at this. It's the fire horse. And that makes me think that we're getting a little preview, because the whole next year in Chinese astrology is the year of the fire horse, which only happens once every 60 years. So this is a rare phenomena. And you may have heard there's some real superstition around the fire horse year in China, because there was a suspicion that especially females born during the year of the fire horse, that only happens once every 60 years, were so independent, wild, free-spirited, that they would never be able to be domesticated, and therefore would not make very good marriage partners, and consequently would be a burden to their family. So people really hoped that they wouldn't have fire horse girls in China back in the old days. So it tells you something about, like, of all the different signs that can occur in a 60-year period, this was the only one that the Chinese were like, yeah, we don't want the female energy aligned with this free-spirited fire horse energy. So it's interesting that I'm getting a little hint that we're being shown a glimpse of the energy of next year. We're being shown a little preview that how rapidly things can move forward. Free-spirited energy, undomesticated, wild, raw, and independent energy. And there's a real feeling of busting out of all the confines, all the restrictions. So we're coming in this week, I want to say coming in hot. There's a dynamo energy in this, because we always look at that first house and it represents the starting point of the week ahead, what we've arrived in here on Saturday or Sunday, if you're down in Australia. This is what we've arrived in energetically with. So welcome the first little hint of the fire horse, which will be starting in February of 2026 and going all the way till, I believe, mid-January of 2027. And we're going to see things that have been stuck for 60 plus years suddenly bust free. So now we look at Taurus. Beautiful Taurus energy. So here we have the Ace of Pentacles. Now Taurus rules our material lives, our money, our resources, our property. This is often referred to as a property card, a real estate card. Taurus rules those material things. It's an earth sign. And so when we see the real estate or property card in the house of Taurus, we know that it's well placed there. And we could be looking at something to do with possibly even home improvements, making upgrades to our current real estate, whatever that is, having some sort of plan to build, expand, sell, buy. We'll see what's around that card to see where it's going to take us this week. And the next one in Gemini, another sword, which is an air card. So Gemini is an air sign. We've got Aries, a fire sign, and we've got a fire. Wands are fire in the tarot. We've got a fire element in the fire sign of Aries. Check. That's very auspicious. In the earth sign of Taurus, we have an earth element. Pentacles represent earth. Check. Very auspicious. In the sign of Gemini, which is air, mind, thoughts, communication, intellect, it's an air sign. We have a sword card, which represents air. Check. So far, a lot of alignments, things kind of locking into synergy or into place in their correct order. A lot of high-minded plans. Do you see all the, I don't know if you can see this. The light is so dim today. There's no outdoor natural light whatsoever. It's just like being inside a paper bag. But I think you can see the little birds there above our Page of Swords head. The Page of Swords is the beginning of some new thought or concept. It's the pages represent the children or the fresh new perspective or a new beginning. So just the beginning of some new perspective that's very high-minded. We may be stepping away from some of the, I want to say, intel that we've been focused on. We are stepping outside of, I want to say, even the current narrative. We're stepping outside of the current consensus reality, and getting really a bird's eye view. Look at that bird's eye view, the birds above his head. It's just the beginning of a much higher minded, big picture overview of reality. And it feels liberating. The pages are like the innocent inner child. They're always willing to try something new. They're like the ultimate beginner mind. So we've got beginner mind in the house of Gemini, which rules our mind, vision, communication, and planning. Very nice. Very nice placement there. Oh, so last week we had party in the house. Remember that? We had Queen of Wands that was telling us to kick up our heels and do some crafts and have a dance party. And Suzanne says, it's Mary the Pigeon and her friends bringing news from the other dimension. Suzanne is referring to a story that Crystal put up in the Beyond Karma show a few weeks ago. Really cute. If you haven't seen it, it was called On the Wings of Resilience, I believe was the name of the show. And she had this great story about a pigeon from World War II that did the most incredible things, like was able to travel so far and do all these trips and be injured so many times and still keep right on going, and that sense of resilience. Anyway, there's so much. We were talking at the beginning about this is the time of year where our ancestors are closer, our deceased relatives, loved ones, friends, our four-legged beloved pets that have crossed over. All of the spirit realm is closer to us for this next week or 10 days. And, there's a lot of traditions. You've heard the story where they'll say, oh, we had our Thanksgiving feast, and, grandma's not there this year, but we made a plate for her anyway, and we set out a chair for her as if she was there. This is the kind of thing that is really beautiful to do at this time of year. It's just that, you look around and you occasionally get the feeling, I'm not alone in here. Like I saw a little shadow. And I want to say, folks, these are our loved ones. This is not, it was, the religious dogma that's trained us to be afraid of ghosts and, discarnate spirits that are running rampant at this time of year and creating all this havoc. And there's lots of cultures around the world and traditions where they see this time of year as such a sacred time to really be close to your loved ones. These are not evil spirits, they're your own people. And yeah, they might not have been perfect. And some of them might have gone through a lot and left a bit of a scar in the family. So you don't need to welcome in everything and everyone, but everyone has healthy ancestors somewhere in their lineage. And this is a beautiful time of year to just set out a little plate for them. We put cookies out for Santa and his reindeer. It's a sweet idea to have it in your thoughts, and possibly there are some kind of family gatherings with different generations. This card has to do with your legacy. It also feels like when we combine this card, legacy, with this card, real estate, home, land, property in the house of Taurus, legacy in Cancer, which is home. It could be a week where we are doing some sort of redesign with our legacy in terms of our property. And that could be drawing up, new documents, a new will. And again, this isn't because something bad's going to happen. It's just because this is a good time of year to, I want to say, kind of have a reset. It's the fall here in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's the time where we put the garden to bed. We save the seeds that are viable that we want to plant next year, and we release the ones that we don't need. It's very similar in terms of our planning for what time of year would be a good time to focus on your legacy, your wills, your property, making decisions about things like that. And some of you may say, well, I don't have family and I don't have property. It doesn't really apply. So then again, it is about possibly putting something in place that is about how you want to be remembered and what you feel your contribution has been on this planet. And if you are unsure about that, or you feel like you haven't quite fulfilled that yet, you might want to even make some plans about how you're going to continue to work on completing some kind of legacy. It's a good time of year to let that settle into your bones, is what I'm hearing. Okay. Yeah. Combine legacy, home. Yeah. Home with, is it a reset of something else? Well, it is a reset. That's a good question, Bamlo. It is a reset. It's a reset for us out in the world. So even, for example, I think about my own small legacy. Some of them are bigger. But in terms of the finances and real estate and stuff like that, these are small pieces at the moment. But even how I thought I would distribute those in my family or amongst my friends, and how I even thought about building a legacy like a year ago has changed. It's not the same as it was. Everything has shifted. I'm so much more interested in new currencies. I'm really interested in backing out of all the old financial systems. So this, in a way, it is a reset. It is like looking at our legacy from the last 10 months or year of our lives and how things have shifted. So it's a good time of year to think about that. Oh, lovely. Lovely. Yes, and look at this, a great time of year for combined energy. So there could be more cooperation. This is Leo, and Leo relates to our, it has to do with our generosity. It's about being bold, being extroverted, but also being generous spirited, big hearted. And there is a feeling here of people are more willing to work together. Even I want to say over the next 3 months, we're going to see, and that's that little preview of the fire horse year. We're all getting a sense that it's time to kind of get our teams formed. It's like you were going to go to a big sporting event or something, and they're like, okay, time to sort of, we've done a lot of training, time to get your teams together and get your strategy of how you're going to work as a team organized, because we're about to go on a really big campaign of some kind. There's about to be a big launch energetically, where a lot of things that have been on hold or stuck are going to be off to the races. Again, that analogy of a horse race, things out of the gate, like that gun goes and we run. And we don't want to be running all in different directions and disorganized. So there's 3 months, 10 weeks to 3 months of getting ourselves kind of organized. You don't have to have every aspect of your life organized, but get together and work on a project. Have something that you want to put your energy to in early February when that launch happens. And this is also, it could relate to having access to funding for home improvements. And I've been saying this in readings for years. I keep saying the RV money is stored in grants and subsidies. You got to look for it. But there's been money pocketed away in all these places. And it feels important that we go looking for things, especially to do with home, your home, improving your home. Okay. Woo-hoo-hoo. Here we go. It is our first major arcana of the week. First major arcana of the week. Remember some of those weeks where we had like 7 or 8 of them? What does that mean? It means, we think of the major arcana, if you were lifting weights, they're the heavy weights. The minor arcana are the light weights. So we have a lot of light weights this week. But a lot of pentacles. They're the heaviest of the light weights. So it's not totally easy. It's just not really super heavy lifting yet. So we have the Lovers in the house of Virgo. Virgo has to do with health, habits, lifestyle, your daily routines, which can include your job, your workaday job, not so much life purpose work, but bread and butter money jobs. There could be some really big decisions coming up here where people are saying, you know what, it's time to walk away. Maybe not time today, but really casting that forward into the next 6 months. I really have a sense that by next, June, July, August of next year, there's a lot of people are shifting out of old ways of earning a living. And It's interesting because there's all this energy about re-strategizing with your home, your property, your investments, your legacy, all that kind of stuff. And then we have this like really big turning points. I know there's a lot of people over the years that have asked about, should I stay in my job because I really don't like it? And most of the time, the majority of the time, the answer is, yeah, it's not quite time to drop it entirely. There's a lot of transition building. Um, and I'm not saying that everyone who's in a job that they don't like is leaving it in the next 6 months to by mid next year. But I do feel that collectively we're at a point where we're saying, okay, now it's really important to be in the stream that is your purpose, more in your purpose stream, more in your, like if it really has nothing to do with your greatest legacy contributions and so on, you're saying, gosh, it's getting to that time where I need to put my energy into what I value the most. Because the security of staying in certain things that just pay the bills is starting to wane. And those things may not even be able to make it through next year, is what I'm hearing. Like, it's probably going to be better that you preemptively say, I'm cutting the cord, I'm cutting the, and, floating off like a balloon before you get released purposefully, right? Like it's always a lot easier to deal with the shifting if you've initiated that because you've already got a plan. So there's a feeling here that people by the middle of next year could be really in shock with the shift in what they're relying on right now as their security with jobs or funding that really is not in alignment with all of who they are. So this isn't about frightening you. This isn't about saying, oh, it's really about so many times when I speak to people about this topic, they're already 3/4 of the way there. Like they've thought all these thoughts, they've had all these feelings. It's that final step. And like I said, it's gathering the new teams and putting energy into the rebuilding of something new with that fire horse blast off of the gates feeling. So choices, choices, because this has to do with what you spend your time doing day in and day out, Virgo. Habits, details. And this is the choice card. If any card in the 78 is about choice, it's the Lovers. Big turning point. It's a heavy lifter. It's a major arcana. So it's like big choice, a big choose a path that's really going to divide your future in a new direction coming up. Mm-hmm. Aw. Bread and butter money jobs. Yeah. And this isn't, thank you, Bamlo, for mentioning this isn't actually about saying that bread and butter money jobs are no longer appropriate, or that, if you're doing something like that, you should walk away from it. What it is it's saying, why are you in it? Is it something that you really are not in alignment with? Like if it's a job where you can do something that is actually taking you closer to your legacy, your purpose, that's great. Like it's okay if it's a casual bread and butter type job. Even a more menial, mundane job, if it's in the stream of something you love. So it's not about saying, oh, we all have to be, light worker extraordinaires and be doing something totally new paradigm, but it is about not doing something that is cutting you off from your destiny direction. So awesome. Oh, I'm hearing about a lot of work on the property and floods in the hill country, tornadoes last night. We don't exactly have a tornado or hurricane going on here, knock on wood, but it's definitely, there have been some evacuations due to flooding. And yeah, so it's interesting that we have this card that has to do with grants and funding to do not only home repairs, but perhaps renovating to upgrade so that you're more able to withstand some of these weather events. So that's interesting. Okay, we are at Libra. Drum roll, please. Another 6. 2 6s side by side. Do you see that? We have the Lovers, which is the 6 card. And right beside it, we have the 6 of Wands. Now, interesting. 6 of Wands is another, I guess you could almost call it, there's certain cards that have a sporting kind of feel to them, like an Olympic sporting kind of feel to them. And I see the Knight of Wands as being that. Sometimes I refer to the Knight of Wands as, you know, the, what do they call those? The extreme sports people. I kind of see the Knight of Wands as being that. And then 6 of Wands, it's right across from that in Libra, is also a sporting kind of, and you look at them, they're even on horseback, going in different directions, but all those wands. And the 6 of Wands we call the victory card. Now, do you notice in the middle there, it's like a V? Do you see that? And then there's the laurel hanging from that top pole. This is a bit like we've just had a successful Olympic team sport and we won a medal, or we placed really well. There's a feeling of victory here. And again, teamwork. So teamwork makes the dream work. And we have also 3 in a row teamwork cards. The 3 of Pentacles in Leo, heart-centered, generous, teamwork. We have the Lovers in Virgo, which is also about not only choices, but partnerships, teamwork in your daily life. And then we have 6 of Wands in Libra, which is the partnership house, teamwork. She's seeing the theme here, and a lot of this is setting the stage for next year. What are the teams that you're joining right now? And have your little wins now so that when the fire horse energy is unleashed and all this spiritual force comes blasting through, we're ready to run with that. I'm seeing almost like a relay race or something, like pass the torch, like work through the night, run through the night, and not a fear-based thing, because sporting is different than warring. Yeah, I'm getting a big yes on this. Sporting events are different than warring events. When we consider this as a sport that we're engaging in, it's no longer about survival, because sport is what you do as a leisure activity. It isn't just to survive till tomorrow. It's to build your strength and skill and stamina and ingenuity and capability. So we're starting to move away from survival warfare into sportsmanship and back into this culture of, like, we become the best version of ourselves to get into the game, not to just struggle to barely exist and survive, but to, like, outdo our best time from last year. There's a feeling of the sporting energy, which suggests to me that we're out of the survival game. We might still think we're in it, but see if you can wiggle yourself a little bit into alignment with the idea that you're not doing these things. You're not changing your workaday job and shifting your home and your legacy and all of these kinds of things to survive. You're doing it as a sport. This is your truther version of extreme sports. It's like, yeah, we're beating the system and we love it. Bring it on. That's a different energy than, oh my gosh, they're after us and they're, the CDCs and the this and the that, and they're like coming at us and all the, yeah, it's not like that. It doesn't feel like that. This feels like we're now in the main event, or the main event is coming up in this next year. Wow. Okay. Whew, whew, whew. Scorpio says channeling. Wow. And we talked about this time of year. There's almost a bit of a message here. 2 ones across from each other. We have the Ace of Pentacles in Taurus and the 1 Magician in Scorpio. What does that mean? I know I can hear some of you that have said, ASHALA, you're talking over my head. I don't know what you're talking about. I had a friend that was a spiritual master, and he used to talk over my head all the time. And I'd be just like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds really good. This was like 30 years ago. And you know what? Within a few years, I would sit at his table and listen to him, and I'd be like, I know what he's talking about. Like, it starts to kind of, your ears just open to things and you start to sort of get it, even though you don't fully understand it yet. Anyway, I'm just inviting you to not go, oh, I'm not getting this. I'm not doing this right. If it sounds interesting and your heart feels like it's opening, stick with us, because it will start to make sense and you'll get into the excitement of this. So Ace of Pentacles is a 1. Aces are 1s. Taurus is across from Scorpio. They're in opposition astrologically. So we have the other major one. There's 4 minor ones and 1 major one in the tarot. Magician is the major one, the major number 1. It's one of the major arcanas. And it's the second heavy lifter, heavyweight of this round. Oh boy, there's a lot of sporting analogy coming through today. Can we get into sportsmanship with this game of life and enjoy building our skills and getting involved as a team in how we're going to adapt and really win some gold here? So Magician in Scorpio. Magician is probably the biggest direct channel. Do you see how he stands with one hand up to the heavens, almost like a radio antenna that goes, okay, I've got my antenna up and now I'm going to bring that message down to earth. You see how he's pointing with the other hand down, being a conduit, like that radio message travels through. In Scorpio, Scorpio has to do with, among other things, our deceased relatives. It's the sign of death and rebirth, renewal, regeneration. It's the deep, deep medicine. Scorpio is the deepest sign. We go to the depths. We go through the whole transformation. It's the phoenix rising and being reborn out of the ashes. At this time of year, we are in the Scorpio energy. The sun is in Scorpio. So this whole month of the year is that deep medicine that's almost like we're in the world of the afterlife where our ancestors live. So channeling. The word channeling basically means that you are open and resonant, just like a radio. If you say you're a radio and you have a dial that you can tune to a certain channel, which is, this is my grandma, or these are my beloved ancestors that are healthy enough to share with me and co-create in the heart bandwidth, power neutral, aligned with the greater good of all. I'm open to them, tune my radio to that dial, and then and then out, not necessarily right out of your mouth, but oh, maybe as you're falling asleep or when you're waking up, you suddenly hear this whole message, or you're having a conversation and all of a sudden you say, wait a minute, I'm getting this. We call them downloads. It feels like blah, 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 blah. And you say this whole thing that just sounds fully put together, but you never thought about it before. I'm going, raise your hand if you've had that experience. This time of year, they're close. So you don't need as big of a loudspeaker to hear them. You just need to get into that heart space and be open to channel. And don't worry about channeling dark entities and negative, manipulative, controlling, power dominant energies, because they won't come through your heart bandwidth. They can't meet you there. If you're dabbling, if you're trying to take something, steal something, gain advantage, be better than other people, not be in your heart, then you can meet those entities. But if you're in this heart power neutral bandwidth that is like, everything coming through here is going to be good medicine for all humanity, for the greater good of all beings, and you're humbly at service to that, only that kind of message will come through. So everybody this week, open your channel in your heart, open it, and be ready to receive. Literally, even specific material messages about what to do with your money, your home, property, legacy. The ancestors don't just tell us kind of woo-woo up in the clouds kind of messages. They do tell us those things, but there's a real practicality here. Do you see this whole part of the wheel is all pentacles and practical? So be open to receiving messages in a really beautiful way this week. In case you didn't hear that. Oh, thank you, ancestors. You're having a good laugh on me, aren't you? We got the ancestor card there. So they're like, yeah, Shala, tell it like it is. High Priestess, another major lifter, heavyweight, coming in, weighing in the house of Sagittarius, expansion. So even though you're just barely grasping these concepts, like I said a minute ago, even though this all sounds like gobbledygook to you, if you feel something, if you're like, I don't get it, whatever it is, but I feel something here, that's where you're navigating with. You don't have to get it. I've had experiences. I used to teach tea leaf reading classes, and I'd have people coming in who'd never done anything ever. They'd never considered themselves to even have a remote shred of intuitive capacity. And they would sit down and we'd do this very gentle little, pour your tea and the leaves float around and you drink and you just have a chitty chat and then you look in the cup, and they would give readings to each other, and they'd have each other in tears. Be some of the best readings I'd ever saw in my life. You don't have to know the names of all these things. When the spirit moves you, and that's it. It doesn't only come in through knowledge. All that we do with all of this information is we help to clear some space, make some room, because we've been so programmed. We're so filled with garbage programming. It's kind of like, let's just take that programming out and install some programs that are open-ended, that don't tell you, you have to do this, you have to do that. There's only one way to get to heaven. There's only one God that will help you there. There's only one path. Like, all of that program is just designed to keep you stuck in these little minimal boxes. So here we go. This is your week to let spirit move you. And again, if you feel afraid, just say, nope, stopping for now, not closed for business. It's only meant to come from that spirit of joy, curiosity, generosity. And I have a feeling you may find yourself in that place several times this week. And some incredible insights may come through. And the other thing that's really helpful with this, because we got that little page of swords across from this, is to ask for what you need help with. You know, maybe not give them the lengthy list, but maybe put the top couple of things that you're really needing some help with. And then be willing to wait for a day or 2 or 3 and see what comes. Because there's support here. And the channels are very available to us. Let's just say the airwaves are clear. The airwaves are clear. Okay. Whoa. Wow. Wow. Let me just take this in for a minute. 5 of Cups up in Capricorn. Oh, poor little fella. I mean, all of this just feels so beautiful. And this is not a like a bad card. It's not a bad card. It's not like something bad is going to happen or danger, or we got no danger so far, knock on wood. But this is, you may find yourself feeling really teary, really emotional, really like I failed. I haven't succeeded. There could be a lot of grief because this is Capricorn is your self-actualization. And you know what? The suspicion is we're all feeling this way to some degree, and this could really rise this week. What, we want to be remembering is that the story is nowhere near over. And even if you don't achieve a lot of what you hoped to at the beginning or earlier in your life, you've built up your sporting team energy so that next life you can come in and jump right in where you left off. So don't squander your energy feeling ashamed or sad or disappointed in yourself. This is not about feeling disappointed in the world. This is feeling disappointed in ourselves. This is where we start to go, oh, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. And I'm not just talking like in your mind, telling yourself, you didn't do very well. I'm talking about feeling a sense of woe is me. We used to call this card crying over spilled milk. Do you see the cups, empty cups kind of spilled there? So the other part, which doesn't make it entirely better, but it eases the pain of that, is to go, you know what? Look around. Ask 2 friends how they're feeling this week about their self-actualization. Take a read on it. Seriously, go out and ask a couple of people. Are you feeling like you've really succeeded in what your purpose was? And hear how much despair people feel. This will help you realize this is temporary. 5s are temporary. This is a temporary, necessary phase of grief to go through, because there's grief. There's grief coming to the surface everywhere. It's all around us. Grief, 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 grief. And instead of getting washed over by that, like all this rain and storms and floods and tornadoes and hurricanes, it's like the planet's grieving and we're grieving. And instead of getting washed away, Can we just let it cleanse us? Surrender a little bit and go, wow, there's seeds. You've planted a million little seeds, folks, every one of you. I could almost guarantee it. And as this rain and grief and tears wash over you, you're watering them. And when the heat of the fire horse year lights up, they'll grow. Just when you think you haven't done it, be prepared to be surprised at what comes up next year. Whew. Okay, home stretch. Another little page. Look at those two little friends there. Isn't that sweet? Isn't that so sweet? Oh, wow. Wow. Again, team, a team. So we've got the Page of Cups, which is the sweetest, open-hearted, genuine, lovey little love bug of a card in the House of Friendship. Reach out, hug someone, connect with a friend, tell them you love them, tell them again, hear what they tell you, hear it again. This is, this, and notice how we're all in this place. There's a real sweetness here. These are like little hobbits, Page of Cups, he's right above the Page of Swords. They're right like buddy over here. And, Gemini and Aquarius, 2 air signs. Have a chat. Get some of this off your chest. Great week for having sweet, gentle conversations with people. Oh, so adorable. And out of that, you realize you've got more of a team than you thought. You've got more of a team than you thought. And, a team can start with 2 people. Remember that parable, whenever 2 or more of you are gathered? Final big heavyweight coming in to close off the week. Judgment in the House of Pisces. Whoa. For real. Oh my. Judgment in the House of Pisces. I'm kind of looking at all of this and going, where's the outer world? Like, I feel it's all so above the movie or the, the mundane narrative that's being propagated. Where is this outer world? What's actually happening? It feels like we're about to realize that there's going to be the beginnings of a lot of people realizing, the Wizard of Oz's curtain is open. And instead of people being angry and upset, it's just like, oh, thank goodness. Can we just move on from this now? The illusion is lifting. And it is, it's time. It's time. We're really going to feel that, I don't like the Judgment Day kind of analogy or the Armageddon. I like the, Liberation Day. That we get to realize that we're already operating beyond those old constraints. They're just suggestions. And yeah, in some places they're still being enforced. There's still violence. There's still poverty. There's still suffering. I'm not trying to diminish that. But what I'm saying is the bondage systems that hold that together and make it operate are gone. This is just running on automatic pilot at this point by automatic pilots that don't realize they don't have anyone running them anymore. They're just still going. So, yeah, this feels like And, divine intervention, right? It's a heavy duty, what do we call it? Heavyweight in Pisces, which is the deep subconscious, divine intervention. So Gabriel blows the horn and people are waking up. So a big awakening week. But what I love about this is that the timing is beautiful because instead of people panicking and going into freak out chaos, they're just going to be like, thank heavens. Now, how do we get about changing all this? Yeah. Last card. And check some comments here. I've just been riffing. All. Sound frequency wake up call rally. Yeah. This is so intense. It's a little intense, but not really. Not really. I mean, isn't it lovely to see the intense coming from in here instead of out there? Tell me how you all feel about that. Like, I would rather be engaged with the intense, which isn't bad. It's just exhilarating. I'd much rather be in touch with that coming from within to see all the potency available to us than seeing all this intense out there that I feel helpless to do anything about. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Worldly Now is saying Chinese medicine says the fall is the time for grief and letting go. And Bamlo says, Mama used to say, don't cry over this spilt milk. Go get a clean glass. Yeah. And aren't we lucky? The clean glass is the clean glasses, like see through new clean lenses of what really is going on and where we're really at. And I think we're so much further beyond being released from those old prisons. I keep saying it. So I don't know. Are there any of you in here that have been following me for the last 4 or 5 years? Because I remember back in 2021. Oh, I remember just cringing every time I did a forecast for the week on my YouTube channel. I'd just be like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get through this? It'd be like the devil, the tower, the 3 of swords, the 7 of cups, the 5 of swords, the 5 of wands, the death card, it's just like tower. It was just like so scary. And it hasn't been like that for a while now. Now, that's not to say that there's no more ever of those kind of weeks ahead of us, but the trend is shifting. And look at that. We're our only, like the Achilles heel. The Achilles heel. The 5 of swords is actually just this little, like I used to call it like the thorn or the stone in your shoe. It's just like you blow it and it's gone. Like it's so temporary. 5s are temporary, and the swords are the least lasting of all the 4 signs. So the 5 of swords is the most temporary. But it's that little niggling irritant, that voice that you can't stop defeating yourself, that self-sabotage, that little, tripwire, that little Achilles heel, that thing that just like trips you at the last minute. So the irritant, the tripwire, we have 2 5s here, 2 of a kind, mastery. Mastering 5s are about growth and change, but they bring a kind of a chaos that's temporary. We're mastering that. Yep, just breathe through it. When you get those thoughts going through your head that start to produce this big pity party up here of I didn't do what I came here to do. I failed. I'm so heartbroken. I'm so defeated. I can feel it. It's almost in my throat because I'm sure I've said these things to myself in the last week or two, many times actually. I know it's not true, but there's those places in me that are still locked into the slavery system, and they're nasty. They're nasty, really hard to handle parts because they come up even when you know it's not true. They're still there. And you're like, how do I get rid of this thing? And it's just like walking on a path and getting a stone in your shoe. You just stop and take it out. And yeah, maybe you'll get another one a few steps ahead, but eventually you'll find your way onto a less pebbly path. Oh my goodness. Well, there we go, folks. We're at the end of a week. We've got how many majors? 1, 2, 3, 4. Not very many. So even overall, it's still a relatively lightweight week. Lots of good energy in material realms, team building, innocence, renewal, friendship, channeling your ancestors, and being open to receiving some really supportive messages and big decisions about what you're going to do for your destiny and your legacy and how you're going to spend your daily life going forward, making some decisions around big changes in the next few months. Okay, so let's jump on here for a sec and have a look at the cards. Past lives and our ancestors workshop. I spoke about that a little bit already. You can use the coupon code to get a discount on that. What a great time of year to be looking at this topic. We kind of designed it. We were talking about it early in the year, and we were like, yeah, let's do it in late October so that it lines up with this special time frame. And Ascension Organites have their crystal grid sets, collections handpicked for every intention. Absolutely beautiful and powerful to be working with that energy of the earth at this time of year as well. And here we are, the Psychic Tarot weekly show. And also you can book a consultation with me, a 1-hour recorded private session over Zoom that you get the recording afterwards so you can listen to it as often as you'd like. It's been beautiful sharing with all of you. I wish you an absolutely extraordinary, channeling, relatively lightweight team building week. Bye for now, everybody.